Hello. So this is the book that I am super jazzed to talk about tonight, and it's because, um, I really enjoyed the book. I really enjoyed the book, but I have a little like story that goes with the book that like is like a permanent like part of my lore. Okay, so the book is called Horror Times 10. Okay, it's called Horror Times 10, just in case my clapping um, messed that up. And it is edited by. It's a story compilation, like it's a anthology, I think is what they. Brain's not braining. It's a collection of short stories, horror stories in this case, and it's an older book, um, as you can see. Okay, um, yes, yes, um, and I did pick it up for this cover. I found it in a thrift store. I found it in like a secondhand store that had books in it. Um, Perfect cover for just like grabbing my attention. Um, it is edited, compiled by, where is this man's name? Alden H. Norton, and it doesn't really have much of a description, okay? Which it it just doesn't. But the description that is given is 10 chilling tales of horror by masters such as Ray Bradbury, August Derleth, Robert Bloch, and H.P. Lovecraft. So, Bradbury and Lovecraft were the primary reasons that I saw that cover, saw that insane cover. Um, it's so gross and I love it so much. And like it looks all yellowy, like in the picture that I showed you. I don't know if I kept it up for that little hand wave, but it looks all yellowy like that, and it looks all yellowy in person too. And it came out in 1972. Okay, that's how old this book is. Um, okay, okay, glasses off, glasses off, so I lock in on the lens. Okay, okay. So the stories in there, they're definitely old school horror short stories, obviously, because it came out in 72. Um, but that means that they're some of them are slightly slower paced, some of them are a little, um, oh, it's so spooky, and it's not spooky because it's too slow, and it's, like the characters are too bland, and, uh, sometimes the settings just don't hit right, okay? Um, so sometimes it's like that. Sometimes they're really good. But there's more than 10 horror stories in there, so I don't understand why it's called Horror Times 10. But I read it all the way through. I mostly read it for Ray Bradbury and H.P. Lovecraft. That's actually the book that made me fall in love with H.P. Lovecraft's work. I don't have him on this list because he himself is influential for me because I wrote my college thesis on him and on his style of writing. But none of his stories are like standout. Um, the stories themselves aren't standouts for me. He's a standout, but the stories themselves um, aren't. It's mostly that his characters have captured like the public imagination so well, and it like the way it stems off of his like neuroses. I'm just getting sidetracked, and I won't have time to tell you my lure. But I read the whole book. I read it cover to cover, um, which I do for most books. But it's a short story like collection. So I don't always do that for short story collections because it's a collection, and some of those collections are not going to be good. Uh, but prior to reading this book, I had never had a nightmare or like a waking sensation, like a fear sensation from a book before. Um, like never. It non-issue. Um, Maybe I'm too jaded. I did get to watch like X-Files with my mom growing up, and I was really into Goosebumps. I've always been super into horror, so that might be why. So like written words aren't gonna like scare me. Um, that super changed with this book, okay? And by super changed, I haven't experienced it really that much since then. But I definitely experienced it with this book. And let me explain, okay? Why that's such a big deal. And not just because it's like astounding to have such an extreme reaction to a short story, written in a format that I don't find scary. But here we go. The story that got me, I haven't been able to find it since. I have read that book twice more looking for this story because I wanted to know who wrote it. I wanted to know who I needed to go look up and see if I could find way more of their work. I couldn't find it. I still can't find it. So I was reading this book. I remember laying in my bed in the apartment that we were in, and I read this story, and it was getting pretty close to the time that I needed to get up and get ready to get showered. But I needed to finish the story because it was actually really good. It's about a guy that he goes into a pub in town, and a guy like walks up to him and he's like, "Hey, I'm going up to the castle, and I could use some help up there. I could use like somebody to like to witness. Basically, I just want somebody to be with me because going to that castle is like." He's like a lawyer. He's like a solicitor, and he's there on behalf of the lord of the castle and his heir, his son. But he doesn't want to be up there alone because he feels like something's fishy. And this guy, I guess, seems trustworthy, or that he's like, I don't know why he trusts him, but he's like, come to the castle with me. And the guy's like, you know what? I've had a beer. I'm gonna go. Like that's how it seemed. So like he takes him up to this castle. You meet the lord of the castle. You meet his very frail, very sickly heir. And you find out that there's been a death in the family. And then you find out that there's a tradition that the heir now has to go through to entomb the remains. So what the heir has to do is help lower the body into the tombs, into the crypt. And he does, but then they go downstairs, and downstairs they find that the body was lowered to a generational monster that's been chained up down there, and the monster eats up, the little family member, and it's revealed to the heir that he's going to have to take care of this monster when he's older, and he's barely surviving now, and he's the only one left, and so, like, you're hearing that he is gonna have to survive so he can take care of this monster when his dad passes away, and he's gonna eventually have to lower his dad's body down to this thing, and the thing talks to him, and talks to the guy, and then the guy that tagged along, he just books it afterwards, as one does. I haven't found that story again in that book since. I can't find it. I remember it vividly, and then when I got in the shower, I was thinking about it, and then had like a little mental flash of what this thing was described as looking like, and got actually scared. I had chills. I didn't want to be in the shower without my glasses on. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to be exposed. From like a little flash of what this stupid monster was supposed to look like. So like, spooky. It's horror times 10 because it gave me the horror. And now I can't find the horror again. I want to know who wrote it. I know I didn't dream that up. I know I didn't. I know I read it. I viscerally remember the smell of the book, the feel of the bed. I read it.